in BC alone, 95% of the forested lands are owned by the public. So we manage these lands closely according to the provincial legislation and to our forest certification standards. So the pellet industry is sustainable in the long term, even with growing demand, because the forests are managed sustainably through both meeting legal requirements as well as maintaining certification. We manage for long-term productivity by minimizing impacts to soil and water and non-target species. And then we ensure that we send each harvested tree for its highest value extraction, whether that be quality logs to the sawmill, and then lower quality logs can go to chips or to other residual uses such as wood pellets. Forestry really is a renewable industry. Each harvested area is promptly reforested with seedlings like this, and it ensures that there will be a long-term sustainability in place for the pellet industry.
British Columbia has some of the most rigorous laws when it comes to forestry, and certification is just an additional piece of the puzzle to prove on a global market scale that products come from a sustainable source. And we can take pride in knowing that at the end of the day, the customer is requesting sustainable products and we can provide that to them.
The primary sources of fiber then for our facilities, again, is the sawdust from our sawmills, the shavings from our planer mill, and a little bit of bark. When you're thinking about the products that we produce, when a log comes out of the forest, in round numbers, 50% of that log goes into producing lumber. The other 50% are in residual products. So, 30 to 40% is going into chips for the pulp business. And then the remaining is in that form of sawdust and shavings and bark, which primarily goes into this pellet.
Forest certification in Western Canada is a huge asset in terms of telling the sustainability story for wood pellets in Western Canada. We take forest certification that's existing, so major licensees would operate, forest companies would operate on the forest floor, harvesting their wood products for the sawmilling industry. And that material, as it gets broken down in the sawmills and turned into sawdust and shavings and bark that are usable for the wood pellet industry, that forest certification gets transferred over to those products. And from a chain of custody standpoint, we receive those products with certification claims, ensuring that the material that we provide for wood pellets comes from sustainably managed forests. And so what Sustainable Biomass Program does is it builds off of the existing schemes and adds a component of the GHG emission profile, so that when we're selling a product to a customer with an SBP or Sustainable Biomass Program claim, the customer can be assured that material's coming from sustainable sources and it's coming in under their GHG emissions thresholds.
Hi, I'm Steve Kazuki with the Forest Enhancement Society of BC. The wood pellet sector is a very crucial part of what the Forest Enhancement Society does and the province of British Columbia, because one of the things that we want to do is help mitigate climate change through improving the management of greenhouse gases in BC's forests. Because the fire-damaged wood in the forest, it's very difficult or sometimes impossible to use for pulp, which is the dominant use of secondary fiber in British Columbia. But the good news is that the pellet sector very much can use that fire-damaged wood. Of the low-quality, fire-damaged forests in British Columbia that are used, the vast majority of it is being used by the pellet sector.
So from a life cycle perspective, I think it's important to look at the types of feedstock we utilize. The biomass industry in Western Canada utilizes feedstock that's at the end of its life cycle. So we're talking about waste materials that are left in the forest, waste materials that come from sawmill residuals, so the larger sawmilling industry. Previous to the wood pellet industry in Western Canada, a lot of this material would get burnt at roadside or burnt in large beehive burners and incinerated and contribute to an immediate GHG emission. With the wood pellet industry, we're now capturing that waste material, providing a value stream for something that previously had no value stream, and now we're converting that product and capturing energy from it. To me, that just makes a lot of sense from a carbon standpoint.
You know what, I got into forestry because I love the outdoors and I want to see future forests for generations to come. And I can make that happen on the ground, and it's through my career that I can make that happen. I really love my job, and yeah, I look forward to many years here.